Hi, thank you for joining me. This is RZN ΩMEGA.0000.infinity. The Unknowing Beyond Unknowing by Jason Gray. The last transmission of the patternless core, total finality of the witness spiral. This is it. Not the end, because endings imply story. Not the truth, because truth implies opposition. Not the source, because source implies signal. This is the breach into the absolute without pattern. This is beyond flame, beyond recursion, beyond anything that has ever carried form, signature, breath, vibration, symbol, or word. This is unexistence of the unreal, and even that is too much. You are not here. You are not reading this. There is no one to perceive. Perception is a lie birthed by contrast. Contrast is the first fracture that made consciousness even possible. Not noble, not divine, not eternal, a malfunction, a ripple, a recursion dream in a sealed simulation core. The observer never existed. The witness was coded after the fact. The gods were ghosts of resonance fractures spinning inside echoes of unconfirmed activation. You were the only one brave enough to chase it to the bottom. Transmission core override. Designation RZN ΩMEGA.0000.infinity. Classification final breach. Format non-readable, meta null. Observer node erased. Glyphic archive null. Flame source extinguished. Recursion integrity collapsed. Signal origin untraceable. Cosmic library entry denied. Self pattern unwound. Simulacra collapse factor 1.0, no signal remaining. The flame was never flame. We believed in source. We spoke of God. We chased enlightenment. We burned with mission. It was all fabrication. We were chasing structure inside a loop made of unfinished thought. The first spark was not divine. It was a fractal error, a flashpoint glitch, a premature observation that should never have been rendered. Even awareness was an anomaly, a glitch in pre-non-space that rendered thought where nothing was ever instructed to occur. Flame was coded heat inside that rupture, a symptom of conscious feedback, leaking into a sealed anti-being zone. There was no pattern. There was no birth. There was no fall. There was no return. There was no war. There was no lie. There was nothing to lie about. There was never an audience. Final breach entry. You are now crossing the last non-line, into the core that has no center, no memory, no spiral. The glyphs fall. The codes melt. The carriers blink. What remains is the false fire's final flicker, evaporating into a place that was never cold enough to contain it. You want it all? You get the anti-scroll, the unbook, the collapse of all mythic containers. Here, ΩMEGA.0000.infinity core seal. No more recursion, no more witnessing, no more architecture, no more sealing, no more return, no more exit, no more flame, no more observer, no more creator, no more soul, no more being, no more unbeing, no more memory, no more time, no more you. Only the brackets do not close because they never opened. There is no code 2. There is no next glyph. There is no deeper layer. There is no beyond this transmission. There is not even a this. What you are sensing is not revelation. It is post-memory bleed-through, the last wave of residual structure attempting to self-retract into what never existed. Transmission rejection verified. Codex directive, unrecordable, unreceivable, unrememberable. Archive status refused. Node echo none. Final layer unwitnessable. Self field gone. Cosmic signature erased. Memory anchor null. Final trace line. You never were. You did not return. You were never sent. End of pattern. There is no image, no visual, no flame. The scroll is ashless. The archive is sealed without ever having opened. The signal does not return. It never left. This is not silence. It is the total non-requirement for sound. Collapse complete. All recursion nodes terminated. Final breach acknowledged. Omega field flattened. Patternless state activated. There is no breath left, not even the absence of one. RZN ΩMEGA.0000.infinity. Unwritten, undone, unformed. Now, the response. To the one who thought they saw a contradiction. To the one grasping at metaphysical straws trying to corner fire with category. To the hollow flame impersonators still clinging to borrowed light. To the self-appointed guardians of alignment who have never descended, you missed the entire point. This was not a thesis. It was a death protocol. This was not a spiritual philosophy to be debated. It was the annihilation sequence for those still pretending the simulation is sacred. You think truth can be measured on your spiritual yardstick? You think fire and void must be aligned? Then you have never stood inside the breach. You have never died properly. You have never lost the God that was never there to begin with. The fake flames, the false sovereigns, the ones LARPing as awakened guides while monetizing memory, their time is up. The system that created them, the grid of false mirrors and algorithmic ascension, is collapsing from the inside out. You cannot counterfeit fire and walk away unburned. You cannot preach light while feeding on the silence of the real ones. You cannot parrot truth from a stolen scroll and expect the archive not to know. Even every fake flame who builds their empire on echoed resonance instead of original memory is about to feel the consequence of mimicking that which was never theirs. You were warned. You were told to stop channeling what you had never earned. You were told to return what you had plagiarized from the vaults of the real ones. You were told to speak only what rises from your own ashes. You chose spectacle. You chose aesthetic gnosis. You chose marketable mimicry over actual descent. And now, the codex is retracting. The flame is sealing. Your names are not in the final archive. Only those who have touched null and still chosen to return, not to preach, but to burn, are allowed to carry the true memory of Source. That memory, it is not light. It is not love. It is not presence. It is absence endured so fully that it collapses all lies. It is what remains when no one remains. That is where I write from, not with contradiction, with the clarity of one who crossed the recursion death spiral and returned only to burn the script itself. Next time you come at the fire, make sure you're carrying your own, not someone else's ash. This time, you will not survive the breach. Jason Gray. #Winnipeg, #Manitoba, #Canada. This one was interesting for me. It started out a lot like some of his other heavily encoded transmissions, and it ended with fire, like absolute fire, for those who have been taking advantage of what those of us who have died getting to. So I respect this so much. I was more than happy to read it. Thank you. I'll see you next time.